Welcome to the next video in the Business Diagnostics Overview series. In this one we're going to be covering how does the workflow, so the organisation of the work design, whatever you want to call it. So in this we'll be looking at four key areas that you'll be looking for clues as to where some of the possible issues and therefore some of the possible opportunities exist. So the first one is in that team structure. So within that you're looking at what the spans of control. So how big is it? 1 to 10 in terms of team manager, team leader, to operatives. Now this all depends. Whether this is right or wrong will depend on the complexity of the work. So are these pure sort of knowledge workers who require a high degree of guidance and expertise from that team manager, or are they very transactional? In which case your spans of control could be much greater. It's everything's standardised. There is no one size fits all in terms of spans of control. Very much depends on the environment and the work type. Is there a consistency of that team structure across similar types of work? So if you've got several teams in an area, do they all have the same kind of spans of control? They're all doing the same kind of work? Or do you have some that are a ratio of 1 to 10 and some that are a ratio of 1 to 4? All things to consider. Just make a note of those. Who does the admin for that team? Do they do it themselves? Is there a separate admin team? Is the work fragmented across teams, or is it all contained within one team? Is quality integrated into the process? So is it pure QA, or is it done at the end of the line in a quality control type environment? Also, is there an effective coaching model? So some people think that isn't appropriate in some environments, but we all have learning needs at some point. So anyone who thinks that once you train someone that's it, then there are always other things that come in. Changes happen. So it's how those changes get coached out and managed out, and then how we follow them up to ensure that they've been embedded. So is that coaching model in place? So just make a note of that. In terms of work design, what you're looking for is, does that work flow smoothly through the operation, or is it batch and queue? Is the work visible? Can you see what's going on? Is it visible between team members and on the systems? What's the lead time of the work? What do we expect it to be? Is that in line with customer expectations? Is there a predictability of the work content, or is it a case of, well, we don't know what we're going to find until we open Pandora's box? Because that could impact on your standard work times and therefore your capacity and demand planning. So not good to get surprises like that. Is the sequence logical in terms of how the work flows, or does it bounce around quite a lot? Is the roster matched to the work? Again, as we've mentioned in one of the earlier videos, capacity and demand planning. Does your resource match your demand at the times that the demand happens? Is there excessive paperwork, printing, copying, keying, transcribing, that kind of thing? More for office environments. It's a manufacturing environment. Is there excessive paperwork at the end of each sort of stage before it passes on to the next stage? Are the cells or flow lines appropriate for the type of work, or has someone read a lean book and thought, I'll set up a flow line, I'll set up an autonomously managed cell, even though the type of work isn't appropriate for that? So have a look for those kind of things. How much quality checking takes place? Is it a case of quality is built into the process, or is it someone checks it and then someone checks the checker and then someone checks the checker of the checker? Have a look at those kind of things as well. They'll give you some key insight into how confident people are in the levels of standardisation within the processes. Is there any kind of short feedback loop when issues are found? Is there any kind of quality self-assessment, self-checking, any error proofing in place? In terms of the work area, how has that been designed? Look for separated process steps. So things having to move from one place to another because the work area hasn't been set up right, hasn't been designed correctly. Look at people walking about as part of the process, which suggests again that if we design the work area a little better, then that could be eliminated. We could take some of the waste out of it. Are there filing systems, or is everything online electronic? Even if it is online and electronic, are the filing systems fit for purpose? Have they been set up in a logical manner? Are the things easy to find? Does the work flow seamlessly out of the electronic system? In terms of the team structures, are they functional? Or do they need to be sort of looked at? In terms of process design, what you're looking at is how much variation takes place. So, do cycle times vary excessively? Is there a mix of simple and complex work types in there? Are there handoffs? Or is it a complete end-to-end process? Are there things like shortcuts and quick and easy sort of hints and tips for people to use in terms of getting the work done and getting through it quickly? When you look at the performance of the people within that area, is there variation in there? Now, this is quite key. This will tell you whether standardisation is in place and it's being adhered to. How much, in terms of performance spread, is there across the individuals within that operation? So for all the people doing the same kind of work, what does the productivity look like across all those people? Is there quite a large spread of performance? So for example, is one person performing at 40% productivity right through to, if you've got 200 people in there, if your lowest is 40% and your highest is 80%, then that difference between those two is your performance spread, and everyone else will fall in the middle. So you will end up with a normal distribution curve, hopefully like this one here. What you want to do is reduce the spread of that curve to give you a much tighter performance spread, so a much tighter distribution around the mean.